'Cause you had a bad day, you sing a sad song, turn it around. Full-time hooligan, part-time child, former child, and software engineer. Hey, this Pags. Welcome back to the series of us building a full-stack task tracker, the Code Chronicles. Welcome back. This is what we're about. So, just wanted to preface this episode by first saying huge thank you to everybody who is subscribed and making this actually a reality. We have just completely smashed through another goal. So I might need to do this episode with two caps on, the double cap, the celebratory. Whenever we crush through a goal, we gotta do some hooligan stuff. So hold on. And I'm taking you guys up. We got a standing desk as well, so it can adjust. We can go lower or upper whenever we want. And point being, folks, we smashed through another goal. So hold on. We got one cap. Boom. Right. We got one for the title list. And here's another. I actually got this cap off Amazon, this top one, and it's specifically sold to people with really big heads. So yeah, if you don't think that I'm not going to do this episode with all of these hats on, you got me messed up. But guys, genuinely, thank you so much. We just crushed through 25 subscribers, more than 500 views. I haven't seen anything like this in my life. Like I might have explained. Hold on, we gotta adjust our cap. We gotta be looking fresh, folks. My cap is getting a little flat. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen anything like this in my life where I'm just kind of doing what I do and then recording some of it, and people are just picking up on it and asking about it, asking questions, leaving good comments, liking the videos. And for that, guys, I genuinely am so grateful. Cause it's cool. It's like, I don't know. It's just interesting. So we smashed through that next goal. And, I love how this hat makes me look like a child from the 30s, like they're little, please more crumpets and tea, sir, type hat. But I really, really do appreciate it. And it means the most to me. It really does. So let's dive back into the project here. I just wanted to, let me move that out of the way, pull this back up. We are still building this full stack Kanban situation. Obviously, we could do a little more spacing according to the design, but I really like ours better anyways. So what else can we add here? I think we need to finalize the modal. I'm going to remove the comments thing for now because that's going to be an entire different service that we're going to need to include. So we'll just kind of get that off the task for now. And then, we want to finish the update task, I think. And we do want to set a new goal as well of, we smashed through, the first goal was 5 subscribers and 100 views. The second goal was 10 subscribers, 200 views. And the third goal was actually 20 subscribers and 500 views. And we have 25 subscribers and more than 500 views. So I'm just like, this is amazing. And I did document a vlog of me and just kind of how my life looks as a software engineer that I do want to share here shortly. So, this episode, I'm a few episodes recorded ahead though. So even like I recorded an episode yesterday talking about how I'm almost at this goal. And then I woke up this morning, like smashed through it. Like, I don't know, just absolutely flabbergasted. So thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. And like I said, in previous episodes, I do have a software engineering program in the description below. It's my Teachable course. For $2 a day, I'm literally distilling in I'm working on it. So there's 2 modules upgraded right now or uploaded right now. And I'm updating it, and I'm trying to add the 3rd module here shortly. But I'm distilling all the information and experience I had at an enterprise company, and I'm trying to put it and offload it into that course. So hopefully in a way where if you've done software engineering before a little bit, that you can kind of take the course and just pour gasoline on your skill set, especially as a front-end engineer. So that's the goal of that program. And then obviously down the road, I want to build more software engineering courses, some free ones, some HTML courses, some JavaScript courses. That one's kind of this like middle of the road. Let's just get you up and running. It's really curated around my buddy, to be honest. So that's kind of the goal. So if you find any use in that, that's certainly a go-to course. And I think I'm going to end up doing something like that, where I just offload courses and just have a membership, and you guys can have access to all of them. Because that would be really cool to just share some of the knowledge that I have. And obviously this is all free content as well, where hopefully people are learning stuff or seeing how the software development lifecycle can look like. I know, at least for me, before having like a real experience, I just like didn't know what to expect or what it would look like, kind of being a software engineer and stuff. So it was really cool for me to have the opportunities I did. Because I was lucky. I was like taught certain things and had certain mentors on the way of learning software engineering, and it just always felt like such a supportive space and such a beautiful community. So to hopefully be a part of that, I think is the goal here, just to give back a little bit, right? And of course, I do have to unfortunately monetize stuff because the world's not free, right? But end of the day, if I get to do something I enjoy, then that's pretty cool. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, so let's dive into the application here and what I'm kind of going to do today. I think the goal today, like I alluded to, was finish this task modal. We have these like input fields that look really ugly. We want to be able to update the task, and then we want to be able to add task. So before we dive into that, actually, let's go ahead and go to our controller and let's add some more task. Or should we wait to add task and make that today's task? I like that. So let's be cheeky with it, and we'll do that. So instead of having to add task, and then one thing I did yesterday as well, I pulled out all of the yesterday or episode 13 specifically. We were working heavily in the base card component. So we built out this modal, this modular kind of base modal that we could pop anywhere in our application. We kept the code really simple and readable, and that's this overlay. And then within that modal, we just used it into the component we wanted, which is the base card for right now. But again, we might want to use it down the road and other things. And then even within the base card, within the task modal, which is all this stuff here, this content. So if I start deleting these inputs, we should see them all go away. Maybe I need to refresh, but boom. Well, they should go away. Interesting that they're not, but that's all of these right here. These modals or these things in this task and task name, fix icon issue, this one, right? So this is all, let me wrap this as well in parentheses, just an idea I had last night. But this is all our modal. And then within the modal, we pop in another modal, and that's our delete button, this button here, where we have delete. And what else did I do yesterday? So I took all of this out, and we still kept the base card component, but I just swapped everything into the base column. And I'll explain why in a sec, but let me just review the file so you guys can kind of see. So first of all, I swapped all of our buttons to the base button, so they just look like they should be. I just passed in a color for each button I wanted. But these are our base buttons, so they look a little bit different than yesterday's. They look a little bit thicker, and if we want to slim them out, I believe we should be able to do stuff like this. If we want to say height 3 or something, should slim it out if we want. Because of those custom classes we configured with either Tailwind merge, or we just literally put it at the tail end of the class, which we did over here. So that's how we did that, where we can pass in a custom class and then change the button as we need if we need to modify it. So height 3, let's say, is kind of like what we had yesterday, which looks really good on these. But so that's kind of what I did. I swapped the base buttons out. I brought all that content from the base card and brought it up to base column. And it bloated up our base column component. But if we actually shrink everything down, it doesn't look too bad. And the reason why I did it up here, and this is something I slept on and thought about, we might change this today. But basically we're querying all the data in the what's it called, in the base column. So the column's querying for task store, all task, get all task. And then the problem I was having was dealing with the reactivity. So when we queried for all task in the base column, this is where all of our data, I guess, reactivity exists. And then we had base card, or excuse me, yeah, we had base card and the base modal, like nested twice, basically. So then when I was querying in the task store for the data up here, it wasn't affecting it. It wasn't being reactive. So now if we see this was an issue that we didn't have yesterday, that we did have yesterday, if we added a task, it wouldn't add. We'd have to refresh the page, but now you can see if I add, it just instantly adds. The reason is because the data being queried and modified is on the same page. I don't know if that's why we want to switch to Redux down the road potentially. So are you sure? Let's delete that. And this was another thing. The delete task should, let me put this modal back to normal height real quick. The delete task should also remove this, because we wanted to close all these modals, but it should just delete the whole thing, which it does now. So we don't have to close modals. It's literally deleting it. So boom, it just erases all the modals and the task. If you see the connect, whatever this was going to be, the ... we have 2 of them. So if I delete it, boom, we only have 1. If I delete it, boom, now we have none. So it has the task reactivity there. And I don't know if we can do that in the task store. At least the way it's set up is get task, and then maybe I can have a function of, I was going to say set task, but it really should be already set, because it's setting the task here in res.data. We just have to call that function in the place we're using it. So that's what we do on page load, is we do query that function of get all task. Let me shrink all the modals. Just ignore the modals. That's the only thing that really changed, was just how we organize the modals in the card. And then as well, the cards, I just pulled out all the cards instead of having all the base card stuff in the base card. All of this, basically, I just pulled it out and put it into a base card task cards component. So a bit of a shift, but again, if you look at it now when everything's closed, if we just say, okay, here's our task cards, if we ever need to work in our task cards, we'll just pop this open and say, okay, this is what we need to do. We can even delete the fragments if we want, but I'm going to keep them even. And you can actually nest these template functions is what I'll call them, where we have like task cards, and that's where our task cards are, right? So if I delete that, we should see nothing. And I can add to it here, right? If I say like, hello, hard code that in, we'll see it on every card. So I hope that makes sense, because it's something I've done a few times now, is use these kind of template functions for organization and stuff. But we can, even within one of these, we can actually nest even more stuff. So maybe this is task card and we want like const task card header. we can keep nesting stuff and doing like the Russian doll thing where there's like a doll inside of a doll, right? We can keep doing that if we need to. Like if we need to organize it, and actually here, let me show you not here. Let me show you where I was actually thinking of using it. It was going to be in the modal, because we kind of have like the perfect 3 sections. So we have task modal content, and I can say const task modal header, and I can build out a header here. And that would take all of this H2 data down. So boom, let's pop that here. And this is scoped in here inside of the task modal content, so only the task modal can access it, right? So then we can also have task modal inputs, and this might be effective if we get into really big templates, but something a little bit this small, I feel like I can manage. So I'm not personally going to do this, because I could see where I could see the simplicity of it behind if you see all this task modal buttons. That's what we'll call those. And then I could pop that here. And then you just close all of these. So these are all nested within our task modal content. And here's ultimately our task modal. So it like really simplifies it, right? And let's and I guess to some degree I did do that with the delete task modal. I did stash it inside the task modal content thing, but that way if it's like, okay, well, we need to mess with the task modal content. Okay, this is all of our task modal content. So in our heads, we can like just focus, like hyper focus on these things here. And let's say we want to adjust the inputs, which is exactly what we want to do today. I can delete that and we'll see, okay, there's no more inputs, right? Like that's the thing we need to work on. So I can open up the inputs. These are everything we need to work on today, at least partially for today. So I do see the advantage of potentially doing it. Maybe we'll consider it, but for sake of simplicity, I'm just going to undo all of that. I just wanted to show you guys maybe effective ways you could use that if you have like these huge templates, just to like, you know, compartmentalize your task. But I don't want to do that. I'd rather just have, I did it with the delete task modal. And if you use function below everything, you can actually hoist everything. Hoist just means you can use it everywhere. Like below, it'll still work upwards, or up and it'll still work downwards. So you have to use function for that. But if you did const, for instance, an arrow function into it, this will no longer work, because the JavaScript thread is going down the stack, like down the file. It's starting on file 1, importing this file to, or line 2, import this, boom, 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 boom. It's going down the stack like this. But when you use function again, you can hoist, meaning we're using delete task modal above, if you guys see this, above where task modal is instantiated. Delete task modal's content is instantiated. So that's a little bit about hoisting and nesting template functions. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but let's build a base input. That's what we want to do right now, because that thing does not look very good. So let's do base background. We're pretty much going to steal actually a lot of this custom class here. I think that's a good thing to do, is let's just steal that. And boom. So the input's actually we're gonna have a wrapper div around the input, and we may not need all of this other stuff, this children, but we're gonna have a wrapper div around the input. The reason for that is the input itself needs to be, it needs to look good, like the input component. But sometimes when you just make an input component look good, you might need to put like an icon in there or something. And if there's an icon we need to pass in, I guess maybe that would be why I would use the children. React node. Oh, you know what? We don't want to do children. We want to do what we did for the base. What was it? Base modal. Because we're gonna have placeholder text. We're gonna have heading text, and then we can also potentially have an icon. So there's gonna be 3 things we can pass into the child here. And so like how this is button, we're gonna have icon, right? So we'll have a slot for the icon. We'll have a slot for text, maybe. So some sort of text that'll just uniformly be around the input. So input sometimes will have like a heading part. So it'll be like, here's the input, and then above it, it'll say like first name or something. So we'll do something like that. And then also we do need a placeholder string. So that's what we're going to need to import, I believe. All these icon, not every input will have an icon, but we can accept it. And then also placeholder, boom. And of course, custom class. So we're going to have a few things that we need to build out. Icon and we'll say icon here. And we'll test that out, see if it works later, not right now. And the text we want uniformly above this. So div, we'll say class name flex call. It's going to exist above it. And I'll show you guys. Let's import one of these base inputs. And we're going to have to put in, let's see, what do we want? I'll say text. This will just be task and name, I think. Perfect. And then what else do we need to put in? Custom class. We should also make this because it shouldn't be required. Okay. And placeholder is going to go into our actual input right here. So that way we can put in custom placeholders. But let's go ahead and customize our input, which is going to look very, very similar to our wrapper div custom class or class name, and we'll pass in the class name as well. Because we do want it to ultimately, we won't have the active input and all that stuff. There's going to be a few changes. We don't need the hover, the active, and the transition. We don't need those. Let's delete that. And maybe we could custom pass in a background. I think we left that out though, so we can customize the background color depending on what we need. So we're going to leave that out, I think. And padding 5 will probably make it a little bit smaller and slimmer. Not the end of the world though. And let's say outline. I do want to change the focus. There's that ring that kind of happens. Let's say ring none or focus outline none, one of the two. Do you see how when we click it, it kind of has that like gray border? Maybe it's ring 0. Focus outline 0. Focus. Is it focus border 0? Come on, baby, come on. Oh, you know what? I'm putting it on the wrapper div when it needs to be on the not the wrapper div, but on the actual input itself. So I'll show you guys why we did that, because right now you might say, well, why don't we just leave it as the input where it's just an input here? And I guess to some degree you could do that. The only concern then is how do we, if we have like a search icon or something that wants to exist within the modal, how would we do that is my question. We could do absolute positioning and stuff, but I just think that's the easiest way. So custom class, let's see, background. We're going to do one of our primary backgrounds, I think. I think that'll look the best. Obviously, we need to do some adjustments with the padding and stuff. We don't want it that big. That's looking better. That's looking more proper. And if we don't have a placeholder, we'll default it to enter text. So that way, if we forget to just put in a placeholder, right? We have something, but this will say like task name, or better yet, we'll just actually we'll dynamically code the task name here. Boom. So every task we open, it'll say color code priority, so people know like what they're doing, right? Fix icon issue, that's going to be the task name they're updating. Make divs draggable. Does that make sense, guys? I hope that makes sense. And text here, let's go ahead and we can either wrap the text or give the parent div just a little margin upwards. But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna wrap the text. And I got a low power mode thing on my phone, which is never fun to see. I'm gonna wrap the text and it's gonna work like this. So only if this exists, we want it to exist on the DOM and have some padding around it or some margin. The reason why I don't want it to do that from the input div is because there could be times where we don't want margin, or we want to handpick the margin from the parent. In fact, we'll do that anyways, is always handpick the outer margin, but the inner margin of how much spacing the text has from the input should always be like uniformly the same, look good type thing. In base column, I'm gonna make these update and delete buttons a little bit smaller. So we're gonna go back to that height like 2 or height 3. Height 2 looks fine. That looks great. And same with the update task button. Again, reason for that, it just looks a little slimmer, looks a little better. And I don't like how they are gapped. I think that's something we're doing in here. So if I do this, yep, that takes care of that. And we'll width full. Looks like we're having a base modal width issue. So let's look at the base modal real quick. Or what I could do is also, no, not there. What I could also do is remove this gap Y4. So that'll bring everything together, and then we could just customize the thing. So here's kind of our header. Here's kind of our input columns. And what I could do is say header, I want margin Y4. So it'll give it margin on the top. But that's not what we really want. We just want it to exist away from the task name inputs when we start messing with those. And then likewise with the inputs, we could just say margin bottom 4. And now our buttons are together. And then these we can just, do like a smaller margin bottom 2 maybe. So they're close together, they look good, still stylish, you know what I mean? And this will look a lot better when we have 4 different inputs. So I hope that makes sense a little bit. Just kind of designing on the fly here. Height 4, let's see what this does. Height 5. Maybe we do want the buttons to have a little bit of padding, right? PY3, PY4. Because I do want them to look good still, right? And something feels off. It feels weird that they're all task assignee, task priority. Maybe I can drop the thing task. And same within the button. I noticed that yesterday I said update task. I'll just have update because we're looking at the task. So we don't want to confuse people. Make functions for column. Yeah, so maybe I'll make these buttons actually side by side or something, because it does look a little weird that they're all stacked. Oh, that's kind of cool. Actually, I kind of do like that. Just need a little space between them. Nice, and maybe some centering. Feel like they're, oh, they are off because we do have margin here. Let's not do that. Sweet. So that actually kind of looks good. We could do one of those two, delete or update. Update, delete. And you know what I'll add here? In spirit of our style and stuff is going to be that little border. We'll have that exist in between everything. And it'll actually have margin bottom 4. So we want that border to maybe be full as well. There we go. Now we're looking like a better modal, I think. I think now it's coming together a whole bunch more. We're ironing this this guy out a little bit. So let's go opacity 50. Make the text small, and we'll say italic. Oh, maybe it was already small. Okay, go back small. And this, maybe we could say MY8 to give us a little more space on the modal, right? 6. Doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be good, right? Like that's maybe what I need to remember right now. We have enough to do. So we'll say assignee, okay, boom. So make function for columns. We'll go ahead and start getting these things ready to go. So when we delete, we still have that functionality here that works. So are you sure? You can exit out or just click off, one of the two. I guess the other thing we need to do is make sure that are you sure button is similar sizing as the other buttons. PY4, I believe it is. Are you sure? And maybe we do want to actually say something like this. Are you sure? So there would be kind of deletion for this, and maybe I could steal kind of the header here and say because I want people to know that it's like this task. So maybe I'll steal it here, pop it here. Let's see what that looks like. Are you sure? Delete. Let's see, you know what I mean? I don't want people to accidentally delete the wrong task. So we'll say delete task. Put that at the top, delete task. And it looks like we have the ID here, which is awesome. Maybe delete task confirmation. Are you sure? Maybe that'll do, right? Delete task. Maybe that's fine even, right? Or better yet, why don't we just say, are you sure in the header? And boom, delete. There we go. Solve the problem right there. Delete. Are you sure? Go ahead and delete. Just to give people that extra step, you don't accidentally delete. Make the delete button smaller. Like it, love it. And the update larger. So this is looking great. And then when we build the post task, which will also exist in the base column, which I do love this structure a little bit more for, we could just copy the task modal content and just pass in different buttons. So maybe we can compartmentalize and pull out the buttons, because that's the only thing that should really change is we'll have the same inputs. We'll have the same like everything. So maybe that thing that I was talking about earlier of nesting templates within a template kind of makes sense, because then we can kind of Lego brick these different task modals together, all existing on the same page and all existing really with the same materials and same components and same everything. Gosh, that's just fantastic, isn't it? So I like it. I like it. Are you sure? Okay, so let's we know that's still working. Let's just double check. So connect database, boom. Are you sure? Boom, gone. Great. That's awesome. That is awesome, guys. Let's approach this with an update mindset now. So we have the update button and the update button. We don't have any sort of what's it called, function. So we're going to need a custom function here, and this will be console log. We'll just say update, because we need to go to our router and make sure we have that. Carry on back to the back end. Haven't been over there in a little, so let's delete. Let's remove that. Let's make it smaller. Just want to focus on the thing we need to focus on, which is going to be this task modal. You know, it'd be an amazing tool, I think. Maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll make it, or maybe it's out there. I'll have to do some research before I disclose the tool. Actually, it'd be probably a cool code extension tool, I think. So, I'll do some research. But let's and then the other thing, we'll have to do this entire application on mobile. I really should be producing it in mobile, but tomato, it really feels like it's the same process of I know a lot of people say build it mobile first, and then you can just go to bigger screens. But I feel like it's the same process as either way. If you go from mobile to desktop or desktop to mobile, is you still have to just like ultimately take your time to see that both screens work and both screen sizes work and all that stuff. So not overly concerned with that. We'll just have to spend time doing that. Task modal, okay. We didn't really check if the icon thing works. Not relevant right now, I don't think. Oh, let's go to dashboard. Gosh, I keep playing with it. I love it. I love it. So placeholder, of course, we have the code name and all this stuff just obviously there. Task assignee, task priority. Let's go ahead and pop all these things in. And what was the last one? Task name. Where do you have a task name? What are going to be the things we need to change? Like task category, I imagine, is one of them. And I also don't want it to be priority high, low, like you can type in whatever you want. I want it to be a selector that we select task, so it can choose high priority, low priority, or medium priority. So we'll have to create that, guys. I'm going to take us down. I'm a little bit overstanding, but we are rocking the triple cap still. That's most important on today's episode. That is most importante. Oh, big stretch. Ooh. Okay, folks. So let's see this error. Oh, you know why task assignee is not always going to be there, I don't think. I think that's why it's throwing an error. String null is not there if it's undefined, so we'll say task assignee. Otherwise, default it to not assigned. And really, that should actually be a drop down too. This shouldn't be a placeholder. So the assignee should only have access to all the people within the application who are signed up. So we can't just assign it to random people. It needs to assign it to a user that exists on the application. So there's going to be a bit of functionality based around this. Let's just get over to our controller and see if we can update. Okay, we did push update in. I do remember doing this with chat Jupyter. So task name, task priority, task status, that's what we're going to be able to change so far. And then I would imagine in our router, we have the Perhaps we do not. Make sure we're exporting it. We are into the router. Update task. Do we need to pass in the ID? I imagine we do. Task ID. So we need the ID, the task name. There's 4 things we need. It's going to be the ID, the task name, and more. The other thing I realized too is we're going to need to customize this where it does Kanban page to the customer's ID. So it should, the URL should look like this. And I did play with TRPC yesterday. I was close to understanding it. I still need to mess around with it more. I don't know how routing and stuff is going to work with TRPC, but I guarantee they've thought it through. I do want to get the application over to TRPC at some point because that just seems like a fun challenge. We'll see. We'll see if it happens on this application. If not, it will definitely be in the next build we make. It really would be appropriate for this application. It would. Okay, so base column. Let's get task store. We have it, of course, and we need to build a function here. Async function handle update task. We're going to need task ID, number, and task store dot update. Oh wait, task store. Oh, you know what? In our task store, we didn't build the endpoint task store, and this is why TRPC would be a lot easier, I think, because we wouldn't have to kind of do these nested endpoints and stuff. It would just be the I think it would just be whatever endpoint we kind of call in, and maybe we don't want to put it in here actually. And same with post task, we might want to just stash those into kind of all of these, maybe just in the column. Because I imagine, well, maybe not. We'll probably use them across the application because there is a dashboard page that has task. And then the Kanban page, of course, will have task too. And same with the team management page, I think. So never mind. That's a bad idea. But I think TRPC would be easier because we wouldn't have as many locations to manage, like the router, the controller, this, that, the other. And then that's just the back end. And the front end, we kind of have the store and then also the column. I think we would just be able to get away with like one endpoint on the back end, and then on the front end, it would also work with just one. So not sure. I'll have to learn more again, like I keep saying. But my only concern here is how we're going to do this. We need to then set state from here internal of the task store, which I don't like. So maybe we won't do that here. Maybe all of this, and likewise with posting a task and stuff, we'll consider this dynamic. But if I import, what do we do here? Axios, definitely need Axios. Okay. Sorry guys, I might go back on some of these things too. I'm just in the middle of writing some software. So we're gonna have a put function, and again, we're gonna need our URL to boom. Let's steal this task ID, and we're gonna pass it an object, and this object is gonna have all of our stuff with it. So this will be, we're going to need the states here in React. Use state, nice. Filter task, we have post task, and we'll need to start building state. So const, I really do need to, I think, organize this a little bit, or at least separate it. So I'm going to go to the template and steal one of these, because it's a big enough component where we need to do that, I think. Or big enough page, rather. So methods, we'll say template functions. template functions, and then our life cycle, which will exist at the bottom of the page because this task cards is also a template function. And then here's our actual template. Sorry guys, just trying to maintain stuff for a second here so we don't get too disorganized. So boom, that cleans it up a ton. So we have our template functions, our methods. We can have our, I want to say member data. Kind of types, I guess. What we kind of know that. And then we'll also have state. I'm going to put state at the top actually. Let's get rid of that space and boom. Okay, so that just helps us kind of focus in if we need to quickly go somewhere. We can kind of see roughly what we're looking at pretty quick. So const, this state is going to be used in that template that we built. Where is it? So task modal content, it's going to be in these inputs. So in the input as well, in the base input component, we need to pass in some sort of value. I guess I don't know how to do this because in Vue, you just V model. And what I'm referring to is like two-way data binding. So it's really easy to like this would be your task, for instance, or like task name or first name or last name. You just pass it in your input like this and then it automatically updates. This is how React is actually built. It's similar to this as you have your value. And then you also say add input, do this. So that's definitely what we need to do. It's like some sort of on change. We'll say like E equals value. And I don't know what it would be here. I don't know if it's like a JSX React element, like React HTML event. I think it's an event. So hold on, we'll pull it out, I guess. Let's just do it here so I can show you guys what it is here. It's a simple thing, right? But set task name, so e.target.value, I believe. So now if we do this, we can type inside, or should be able to type. Oh, we are typing. Okay. It's just background black, maybe that'll give us kind of, okay, boom. So if we don't have like a value in here, I believe that'll break it. So then we shouldn't be able to type, or the set task name shouldn't work. Yeah, so you can see me typing on the keyboard. And it's not doing it. And basically in Vue, when I pass in a prop, I would just say for the input, like I would just V model it. And then you could just literally say like task name and it's going to magically work. It's going to do all this stuff for you. But I guess now that I think about it, when we used input components still, or custom input components, the child still had to emit the value upwards. So I'm going to need to figure out how to do this, or hear me out. I'm going to use my trusty intern, ChatGPT. Because why not? Why not, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. And I'm going to say, here is a parent function in which I want to make inputs a custom input work. this how the input works in the parent element. What do I need to do in the child component? The child component. Here's that. And parents. Okay. Okay. So child. Boom, bada bing. I'm sure I could have asked that probably a lot better. We got one, folks. 2 goals hit. 3 goals hit. So we're wearing 3 caps. Uh-oh, phone is on 10% battery, folks. I might lose you just midway. Even though I'm charging it. I'm literally charging. Oh, you know what? I'm not charging it. I just realized the cord wasn't plugged in. That's ironical. That is funny. That is funny. Okay. So, so a couple just mental mistakes, right? React event. Says E is defined but never used. Imagine we got to put it in here on change. I'm just gonna say custom React input component. Here we go. Because I don't think this is working. And let's see, React strict mode, boom, boom, boom. Don't need all this. We want the input, index.js, styled components, gross. Is that what it's using? No. Okay, so input style, input, boom, boom, boom. Folks, I will figure it out. And then I guess in theory, we should also pass validation into it now that I'm looking at it, like the errors. It's probably a good idea. Like basically saying if you want to update, actually, yeah, we will undeniably do that. So it should have checks, right? So these buttons should either have like a cursor not allowed or they should be grayed out. Basically, well, not the delete, but certainly the update. Like if you're not making a change, or likewise when we go to add a task and use that same modal. Here, let me just put this back so we don't have an error in there. Because when we use the same modal of add task button, this should actually be base modal. Nice. Then how do we use base modal again? We have the content here and the button there. So we'll pass it in here as content. We will need to, oh, what is going on, folks? No, that should work. That should absolutely work. We just don't need delete task modal here. The content will be task modal content, and we'll pass in our own stuff, but it should roughly, oh, and then maybe this needs to exist on same playing field. Const add task modal content. But the point is even in the add task modal content, we should still have all of these validations there as well. So it won't let us post a task unless oh, where did I put this? Whoops, daisy, folks. There we go. Okay. So it shouldn't allow for us to do this unless, where's const task modal content? Right there. Why is that not working, right? Let's dumb it down. We're going back, but I want it to still work the same if I'm posting a task. So this should have a button here and we'll say post. Just like this, pops up with a modal. The modal will have all of these inputs as well. So content, all of our inputs, and then even the button as well to submit. But basically the inputs should not allow us to submit if this button should work, right? Boom, right? Nice. So add task. So we can add the task, boom, modal pops up. And the modal will have like, okay, what do you want to name it? What do you want to do this and that? I think that's a really good thing to do. And I wanted to ultimately do that today, is finish all these modals. But gosh, there's just work after work after work, I tell you. So let's think about how to do this modal as well. I really thought task modal content would just work if I just pass that in, right? I guess technically it accepts the task, but it looks like it's rendering. So this is what we'll basically have as well. Instead of update, it'll say post, and then when you go to this one, you could update or post. And looks like we're going to end up having kind of two different task modal contents. So it'll be update task modal content and then post task modal content. And we'll need those one of two reasons, right? Because we're going to need to update or post. So I guess I'll set that template up right now, and then we can go ahead and we just change this to update task modal content. And copy this down. We'll have, I guess, copied up technically. Feels like it should be the first thing. We'll have post task modal content. And the only difference is basically going to be this button is going to have different, similar functionality of posting to the end, the back end, kind of like a put and post or similar in a weird way. But on the front end, we also wanted to say post, or maybe not post, but like add task, I guess, technically. Might be good. And then we want to have this for the update task. So we have two different modals here. For adding task, we'll have to like name it, assign it to somebody or not, right? And then give it a priority. And I think that's roughly what we need. And maybe we'll add the task category to our data here shortly, but you can see there's just like a lot of working parts that we need to add and configure. So, but these are the templates for it. I think that's a great episode as well, where we just made really strong progress, it feels like, on the templates. And some of the functionality in the back end, I think we're getting that linked up. Bringing that functionality of updating the task here. And the task name will obviously be there. We'll also need the other things. So all the state will be set from these inputs or whatever we end up. So some of them won't be inputs. They'll end up being drop downs and stuff. So like task priority, set task priority, right? And we'll pass that in here as well. And then this update task button will exist on this function of updating task. And instead of console logging, we will pass this in, and then we'll pass in all of the inputs, whatever these inputs emit. So basically the V model or the value they emit. Basically this will be like the task name or set task name in a sense. And then we'll pass that task name in here. And I think that should all be working and connected. So, but that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. Again, thank you so much for literally watching and just doing the thing. You know, I'm just chipping away at it every day, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity and yeah, just kind of stoked to see that I'm putting out content and people are at least watching it. Like, it makes it more fun for me. It makes it more lively and enjoyable and yeah, so I'm really grateful, guys, and thank you so much. for doing that. I'm grateful. So cheers. I will see you on the next one. 3 caps. We crushed another goal again. So thank you guys. I literally can't stop saying thank you because yeah, so we'll increase the goals. Oh, before logging off, we'll do that actually. Let's add the goals. So we crushed 20 subscribers and 500 views. Absolutely smashed right through it. Done. Let's go ahead and post that. Let's see if our add task is still working. I don't think it is. So we'll need to add that. Let's see. Handle update task. Where was I? Task store. And we'll post task store dot post task. Let's go ahead and click that. Click. Should we'll let the server catch up. Oh, and it might already be there. Might already be there, folks. 20 subscribers. Boom, boom, boom. Looks like we had a couple posts. That is awesome, folks. That is awesome. 20 subscribers and 500 views. We're going to set the next one to, let's say, should we say 40 subscribers, 1,000 views, or 50 subscribers, 1,000 views? Don't know. I guess the world will never know until the world knows. So guys, thank you so much. I truly am grateful. I don't think people understand that we could change the priority to low. That's not the focus of everything. It's just kind of a little candy on top of what we're doing here, of what we're building. So it didn't delete. Let's try it one more time. Delete. 50 subscribers. Oh, you know what? I think I changed the thing. So we'll go ahead and just post another and get the deleting back up and running. I see that the delete task modal is not working. I will debug that on my own time. I won't bore you guys with that. Guys, thank you. Thanks again. Cheers.